Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the English Talk Show. I'm Rex.
And I'm Melissa. We are so glad you're here. Every episode, we tell a real human story because stories are the best way to learn a language. They make words feel alive.
That's right. And today's story, I have to be honest, it has stayed with me since we first found it. It just stays with you.
It really does. I read it late at night and couldn't sleep after. Not because it was sad, but because it was so full of feeling. Hope, maybe, or wonder.
Yes, our episode today is called The Letter That Arrived 30 Years Late. And that title alone, I think, already tells you that something extraordinary is about to happen. Picture this. The year is 1989. A small coastal town called Harwick in Maine, in the northeastern United States. Quiet, peaceful, the kind of place where everyone knows everyone. The ocean is just a short walk from the main street.
I can picture it. Cold sea air, the sound of waves, small houses with wooden porches.
And in this town, there was a young man named Samuel, 24 years old, a primary school teacher. Gentle, quiet, the kind of person who notices small things. He notices when a child is having a bad day. He notices the color of the sky after rain.
He sounds like a poet who didn't know he was a poet.
That is a perfect way to describe him. And Samuel is in love, quietly, for 2 years with a young woman named Clara. She plays the piano beautifully and works part-time at the town's library. They've been close friends since meeting at a community concert 2 summers before.
Oh, a library and a piano. She sounds wonderful.
She really does. They've spent so much time together, walking the harbor, sharing books, talking for hours in the library after closing. Their friendship is deep and real. But Samuel feels something more, something he has never said out loud.
Because saying it out loud is scary. That is one of the most human feelings, isn't it? Being afraid to speak your heart.
It is. And then the news comes. Clara has been accepted into a music conservatory in Chicago. A conservatory is a special school for music, a very serious professional school. It is a huge opportunity for her. She is leaving at the end of the month.
Oh no, so Samuel is running out of time.
Running out of time. Yes, Samuel has only a few days left. He wants to tell Clara how he feels, but every time he tries, the words just disappear. And so Samuel decides to write. He will put everything he cannot say out loud into a letter and mail it to her new address in Chicago so she receives it when she arrives.
That's actually very thoughtful. He wants the letter to be waiting for her like a welcome gift when she gets there.
Exactly that. So Samuel sits at his kitchen table on a rainy Tuesday night. The rain is tapping on the windows, the lamp on the table is casting a warm yellow light, and he begins to write. And he writes for a very long time.
What does he write? I want to know every word.
He writes about the first time he truly saw her, not just as a person in town, but as someone who changed how he saw the world. One afternoon at the harbor, she stopped to watch a fishing boat come in, stood very still with the wind in her hair, and said quietly, "I wonder where they've been." And he thought, right in that moment, I never want to stop standing next to this person.
Oh, I never want to stop standing next to this person. That is not a fancy line. It is not complicated, but it is so honest, so real. Those simple, honest words are the most powerful ones.
They are. And he writes about the time she played the piano for him alone in the library after closing time. And he sat in the dark listening, and he wrote this exactly, as if the music was saying all the things I have been too afraid to say myself.
Oh, Rex, stop. That is just beautiful. The music was saying all the things I have been too afraid to say? That sentence is poetry.
Great catch. And at the end of the letter, after 4 full pages of these memories and feelings, Samuel writes his final sentence. Simple and direct. He writes, "Clara, I am not asking you to stay. I am only asking you to know that whenever you come back, I will be here."
I will be here. Not, I love you, not, please don't go. Just, I will be here. That is so mature, so generous. He is giving her the freedom to go, but also leaving a door open. Leaving a door open, that means keeping a possibility available for the future.
Perfectly said. So Samuel seals the letter, walks through the rain to the post office the next morning, and he sends it. Then he goes back to work, he teaches his class, he watches the ocean, he waits.
And Clara? She leaves for Chicago. She moves into her small student apartment. She starts her classes. She begins the life she has worked so hard for.
And the letter never arrives. No one knows exactly why. Perhaps the address was slightly wrong. Perhaps a sorting error at the mail center. Whatever the reason, it simply does not reach Clara.
And so Clara never knows. She waits for a message, hears nothing, and eventually concludes that perhaps their friendship simply belonged to that chapter of life. She focuses on her music.
Samuel waits months. No reply. He assumes Clara received the letter and chose not to respond. And that silence feels like a clear answer. It hurts. But Samuel is not the kind of person who stays broken. He teaches, he walks, he reads, he heals. Years pass. Samuel meets Joan, a nurse at the local clinic. They fall in love, marry, and build a home in Harwick. They have a son and a daughter. Samuel keeps teaching, becoming a beloved figure in town.
And Clara?
Clara flourishes in Chicago. She becomes an accomplished pianist, plays in concert halls, and eventually becomes a music teacher herself. She marries a kind architect named David. They travel. They are happy.
And yet, I imagine that sometimes, on quiet evenings, maybe when she sits at the piano alone, she thinks about Harwick, about the harbor, about the fishing boats and the wind and the cold, salt air, about Samuel.
Nostalgia is powerful like that, and the years keep moving. 10, 20, 30. Joan passes away when Samuel is 58. David passes away 2 years later. The world grows quieter for both of them. It is now spring of 2019. Clara is at her home in Chicago on a Tuesday morning in April. 53 years old, morning coffee, looking out at the trees beginning to bloom.
A peaceful scene. And then?
She hears the mail slot click. She picks up the letters from the floor, and at the very bottom, something stops her. An old envelope. The paper is ivory yellow, almost the color of old bone. Paper that has been somewhere dark and still for a very long time. Clara turns the envelope over in her hands. It has been forwarded, sent from one address to another several times with faded stamps and handwritten notes from postal workers over the years. And in the top left corner, a name and return address, Harwick, Maine.
Harwick, Maine. Oh, her heart must have jumped.
She reads the name, Samuel, and the postmark date, the stamp showing when and where the letter was sent, reads April 14th, 1989, 30 years ago, almost to the day.
30 years. She is holding a piece of 1989 in her hands, in her kitchen in 2019. How does that even feel?
There is no word big enough for that feeling. She sits at her kitchen table. The coffee gets cold. She opens the envelope gently, as if it might crumble, and reads.
And what happens when she reads?
She remembers. With every sentence, she is pulled back to the harbor, the library, the piano, to who she was at 23. She reads about the fishing boat and the words she said. I wonder where they've been, and remembers that exact afternoon. The letter gives it back to her like a photograph.
The letter gives it back to her like a photograph. That is exactly what writing can do. It freezes a moment in time. It preserves it, keeps it from being lost.
And she reads that final sentence. Clara, I am not asking you to stay. I am only asking you to know that whenever you come back, I will be here. She puts the letter down and cries, not from sadness exactly, but from understanding, finally, that she had not been forgotten.
She had not been forgotten, and maybe, without realizing it, she had wondered about that. Had he thought about her? Had their friendship meant as much to him as it did to her? And now, 30 years later, she has the answer.
She has the answer. And Clara's brave. She has performed on stage before hundreds. So she picks up her phone, finds a number for a school in Hartwick, Maine, and calls.
Yes, good for her. She is not going to wait another 30 years.
The school tells her Samuel retired last year, but gives her the number of the local community center where he still volunteers, helping children with reading. Of course he does.
Of course he does. Still teaching children to read. He never stopped being himself.
Never stopped being himself. And it is a Thursday, so she calls the community center. It rings 3 times, and Samuel picks up.
Oh my goodness, what does she say? What do you even say in that moment?
She says, and she told this story later in an interview, so these are her actual words. She says, Samuel, this is Clara. I just got your letter. And there is a long silence on the other end of the line. Long enough that she wonders if the call has been disconnected. And then she hears him breathe. And he says, Clara, are you calling from 1989? And they talk. For a long time, they talk about the letter, the years, their lives, the loves they found, the losses they felt, the people they became. And somewhere in that conversation, they find each other again. Over the following month, they call each other and write real letters, by hand, by choice, back and forth. Clara discovers that Samuel kept a small box of souvenirs from their time together, a pressed autumn leaf, a postcard of the harbor, small things he had kept all those years. And that autumn, October 2019, Clara drives to Hartwick for the first time in 30 years. She parks near the harbor, stands, and looks at the water. The fishing boats are there. The cold, salt air is there. She hears footsteps on the dock behind her and turns around.
And Samuel is there.
Samuel is there. Older, gray at the temples, a few more lines on his face, but the same gentle eyes, the same stillness. And Clara looks at him and says simply, You waited.
You waited. Just 2 words, and they carry 30 years inside them.
And Samuel smiles and says, I told you I would be. He had written it in the letter, I will be here. Life had taken them both on very different paths, but in some quiet, patient way, he had been here, and she had come back. And what stays with me is not just a romance. It's the letter itself. That piece of paper written by a young man in the rain sat somewhere in the postal system for 3 decades and still found its way. It was patient in a way that people sometimes cannot be.
The letter was patient, and for our listeners, Samuel chose to write because speaking felt too hard, and that letter changed everything. So if you find English easier to write than to speak, that is completely valid. Your written words have power too. Use them.
Beautifully said. Okay, before we say goodbye, let's look back at a few special phrases and words from today's story. Just a few, to help them stay in your memory.
First, running out of time. This means available time is almost gone. I'm running out of time to finish this project. Very natural, everyday English.
Second, to flourish, to grow well, to be successful and happy. Clara flourished in Chicago. A warm, positive word.
Third, to heal. It works for body and heart. The cut healed in a week. It takes time to heal after a loss. Very useful in everyday English.
And finally, to leave a door open, keeping a possibility alive for the future. Samuel left a door open in his letter. I'm not saying no forever, I'm leaving the door open. A very common, natural expression. And now, it is time for us to close. And I want to say something directly to you, our listener, before we do. Learning a new language is an act of courage. Every single day that you show up and try, whether you understand everything or only a little, you are doing something brave.
Today's story reminds us that words, even quiet ones, even ones that take a long time to arrive, matter. So keep using your words. Keep writing them down. Keep saying them out loud, even when it's hard, because someone out there is waiting to understand you.
Thank you all so much for being here today. If this episode moved you, please share it with a friend and reach out. We'd love to hear your thoughts, your stories, your questions.
Until next time, keep listening, keep learning, and take good care of yourselves and the people you love. Don't wait 30 years to say something important. I'm Melissa.
And I'm Rex. We'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.